So let's start with grid component. So if so far we talked about app component. What is app component? If you observe, so are you able to see my page? Like let me try to open the Visual Studio Code. Okay, so here I'm trying to share my Visual Studio Code. So we have talked about app.js component. So app.js is nothing but a component. Okay. So what is component in React.js? Let me go and explain about what is a component in general, like in a component in general. Let me go and try to explain what is that I try to explain with Amazon over here. Okay. So when you go with Amazon here, so I'll tell you what are all the components here. Okay. Now, if you see, uh, whatever the product you are seeing, right? So here, let me go and try to change this to, okay, let's see. I'll try to search like this. Okay. So when I try to see here, let's go and, sorry, just give me a second. Okay. Whatever you see here, right? This is considered as a component in React.js. This is a component. And this is also a component. Okay. So these are all the two things which you consider as a component. So what is a component in general? A component is nothing but HTML plus associated JavaScript. Okay, a component is nothing but HTML plus associated JavaScript here. What is HTML here? Now, in order to display this component, what and all I'm trying to use here? So this will be overall a div tag. Okay, inside this div tag, I have image tag here to display the name of image tag to display the TV image. Okay, then I have a button to display the add to cart. Then I have some labels here to display the some content and price. So this is what is the HTML. Okay. So the same HTML structure is repeated for this one also, this one also. Like the HTML structure, if you see from this display of the product to this display of the product, the HTML structure is not changed. What is changed? The data is changed. Like it is showing, this is showing for the one preview model called as TCL 165 inches with P60 65 P63T5. This is what is the one which is doing it. Whereas this is displaying for the different product. So the main difference was, like the main difference between these two products was, it was trying to display two different products. Otherwise, the HTML structure for both of them is same. So typically in general, whether it is a React.js or Angular or whatever it is, a component is considered as HTML plus its associated JavaScript. What is associated JavaScript? Your data. Your data is represented in the JSON format. Your data is represented in the JSON format, and the JSON format is considered as the data. Okay, JavaScript. And whenever you click on that button, some event is going to happen. That is also considered as the JavaScript. Okay. So in React.js, a component is considered as HTML plus JavaScript over there. Okay. Now let's try to go and define a hypothetical. Okay. Let me go and try to define here. Now I want to define a login component. Okay. So a login component I want to define. So can you please tell me what is the HTML structure that is there for the login component? So we are going to create a login component. So to define a login component, first one we need to do, we need to define the HTML structure of those things first. And then here we are going to define the associated JavaScript. Yeah, what we need to have, we need to have one text box for username, another text box for password. Then we should have another text box for the button. Okay, login button. Okay. So here you will have name, here you will have password, and here you will have button. Like on top of this, you will have button login. So this is considered as HTML portion of whatever you are trying to declare here, right? Whatever you have declared here, this is considered as the HTML portion of the component. Now, what is the associated JavaScript? When you try to click on this button, you need to execute a JavaScript function. Okay. So here, then this will have, this can have is, it can have a function login, where you are going to have accept the name field and what you call password. Okay. Check for validation, so and so. Okay. This is called as associated JavaScript over there. Okay. So together, we are going to call it as a login component. Okay. Together, we are going to call it as a login component. Similarly, when you try to define a component in React.js, a component in React.js is nothing but a function. Okay. Wow. So let's go and try to create some simple grid component. Okay. What is the grid component? I'll try to define a function. Okay. Then what we do, I said, right, a component is nothing but a HTML plus its associate JavaScript. So a function in Java, in React.js, a component is nothing but a function which has a return statement. Okay, which has a return statement. So in the return statement of the function, we are going to return the HTML which you want to display as a part of that component. Here I am going to say welcome to greet component, and I'm going to return. So when we are trying to like, now this is considered as a component, but I have not written any code here. If you want, you can go and write your JavaScript code here, but I have not written anything here as of now. I have not written any JavaScript code, like any code and functions here, but we can talk about that later. But otherwise, in React.js, a component is nothing but a function which has a return statement. In the return statement, we are going to return the HTML which is rendered as a part of that component. That's it. How the associated JavaScript. Now, as of now, we don't have buttons, we don't have any events and all those things. I'll keep expanding our examples to have the buttons and all those stuff. But for now, what we are going to do is we are going to create a new component. By default, we are using the app component, right? We're going to create a new component called as grid component, have our own HTML, and try to render that onto the page. Let's go and start with that. Okay. So let's go and try to create the new component. Okay, let me go here. I'll go to our code base. So whenever you want to create a new component, what you need to do, say now I'll just go and how to start the application. Control J. Then what is our application? Yeah, go to your application project. That project is not coming. So I'm already there in that. Okay. Or CD my app. Okay. So I'll say npm start. Okay, our application is going to get started. So as of now, this app is a component which is used inside the index.js, which is used inside the index.js as an app component. Whenever you use this as a component, right? This is nothing but an HTML structure, you see. Whenever you use this as a component, if you go here, you are going to, whenever you use this as a component, you are going to what you call render this one. So that's what is going to happen here. Let me see our React.js application. So now, and we went and changed this to our stuff. So now if you go and try to remove these things, nothing will be there. And if you see that, 1 second, it is saved. Yeah, it's nothing is there. Now what I do is, if you want to create a new component, what exactly we do, we'll go, typically good practices, we'll go and create a new folder called as components. Okay. Then we'll go and create a new folder called as, inside this call, we create a new file called as grid.js. Then, as I said, it's nothing but a function. We have to say grid. It's a function, open brace, closed brace. Then it should have a return statement. Within the return statement, you can have, what do you call it? You can have div tag. And we can say, This is my first component, React.js. Then once you define this component, what you do is you need to go to app.js and import this component. How do we import the components? Let's say greet. When you try to press the greet, it will automatically go and try to import the component from there. Okay, 1 second. So 1 second. So when you try to define your component, one important thing is we need to export this component first. How do we export? We have to say export default greet. So we have to export like this, and we have to go to the app.js and go and import that greet component. How do we import? We just specify the name. It will automatically show the path where exactly it has to go and import, and it will go and import from there. Now, what is imported? What exactly we need to do? We need to go and refer this inside the app component here. Sorry, not app component. We need to refer this as a greet. Okay. So now we are referring this as a greet. So ideally, this will have greet component and yeah. So let's go and try to see. It should render our greet component now. Let's see whether it is rendering or not. Okay, where is my data? I have wrote my greet component. It's not loading. I have my greet. I have put my return statement. Oh, what does it says? Unreachable code detected. Okay. This is fine. So we can have a single line statement like this. Okay, this is perfectly fine. So now you can go and see your component here. Yeah, it is coming as hello world. Okay, so now you can do till here. Okay, now if you go and try to inspect and go and see the things here, we have a body section. Go inside the body section. We have a div ID root. This is what we consider as a root. Inside that, this is the app component. Inside the app component, we are rendering our greet component. So let me repeat what exactly we have done. We went and created a new greet we created a folder called as components, created a greet component inside that, and we returned the hello world, and then we said export default greet because we have to export this, and all we have discussed in our module section. If not, go to my YouTube recording on that. So we went through the exported, then we went to the app.js, we went and imported this greet component, and inside the app component we referred this greet component. So whenever this app component is loaded, it is going to see there is a greet component, has to go and load. So it knows that greet component is nothing but a function. It will go and execute that function. When it execute the function, we know it will have a return output. So whatever is outputted as a part of this component is rendered into this page here. That's what you are able to see in your console window also.